when you say that we have to end the threat as quickly as possible, can you say specifically what should US do?
I would have liked to see them close the airspace. The Ukrainian people would be able to much better combat them if we had closed the airspace. We didn't do so out of fear of a nuclear threat, which really showed weakness on the world stage. We need, it's been said many times before, peace through power and peace through strength, and we need to focus on that. It is my personal opinion that when you have an enemy that's down, you don't stop kicking.
Thank you. Thank you. Liam, you have the floor.
So to back up and think about the history that has brought us to this situation, a lot of it involved expansion of NATO to Russia's doors and the provocation of a situation that was known to be untenable by anybody who knew anything about foreign policy to the Russian people. If Russia and China were to instigate a coup and support a coup in Mexico and then put biological weapons labs and nuclear weapons and trained soldiers loyal to them on the border of the United States, we would probably react pretty aggressively too. So I do not condone Russia's aggression, but I also want to put it in the context that sees it as a response to the United States' belligerent foreign policy that is driven by a war machine that has its grip on our government. Closing the airspace, which Anya recommended, but not wanting to provoke nuclear war are completely contradictory statements. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot shoot down Russian planes and not expect that to escalate to a nuclear war. I think that is the most reckless, belligerent, and naive way to approach foreign policy with a nuclear power, to kick an opponent while he's down and down and down. This is a long-held strategy of the United States to use other countries' innocent people as pawns and proxies to weaken rivals throughout the globe. And I think that is immoral. And I wish the United States had a moral leg to stand on by opposing aggressive wars of intervention. From the outset of this conflict, it was clear to me that there were two likely scenarios that would be the outcome. One would be a very long, protracted war, which many military and foreign policy officials are agreeing with, that neither side is very likely to win outright militarily. Or on the other hand, something terrible could happen and escalate into a tragedy. And the only path other than those two horrible choices is to put all of our economic and political and soft power leverage on negotiations. And therefore, it doesn't make any sense to me to, no strings attached, give support to the Ukrainians. Our support should be contingent on good faith coming to the table for negotiations. Otherwise, there's far less leverage to actually ensure that there's both sides coming with something to lose and something to gain.
So would you pressure the Ukrainians to settle this thing, even if it means giving up some of their territory?
I think the best case scenario for all of Europe and all of the world to avoid a horrible outcome is a negotiated solution. I think some of the terms that might be a prerequisite to the negotiating table might be Ukraine staying out of NATO, Russia helping to subsidize energy costs to rebuild Ukraine, and perhaps some of the majority Russian provinces remaining in Russia's hands. But I'm flexible about that.
Generally, just to follow up, do you agree with the concept of U.S. foreign aid? Do you support U.S. foreign aid broadly?
Absolutely.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your time, Liam Madden. Do you have another question for Senator Balint?
So would you vote for a resolution supporting the admission of NATO, Ukraine into NATO?
I would be very interested to hearing the case that is made. I know that you've got some Scandinavian countries right now that are also interested in joining NATO. And so at this point, I need to hear the best case scenario for that to happen. I don't think that either of us have had the intelligence briefings that we need to be able to make these decisions here in this debate. We need to go into Congress with an understanding that we have to do deep learning and understand the issue from many different perspectives. And so I'm certainly open to that, but I would need more hard intelligence to help me inform that decision.
I would agree with you on we both need to be open to doing deep learning on a number of things, but I don't need to do too much deep learning to know that allowing Ukraine to join NATO would trigger an immediate hostile war with Russia that could escalate to nuclear war. So that's kind of already given into public knowledge.